What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then just welcome to my channel. Not welcome back, just welcome, okay? And hello. For those of you who can read, as you can tell by the title, this video is a true crime story where I tell you a true crime story and I do my makeup. And it's a good time if you like true crime. And I won't make the intro too long. Without further ado, let's just get into the video. I'm sipping on Long Island iced tea. I added lemonade to it, so it's kind of like an alcoholic Arnold Palmer. I took a trip to Ulta today and I also went to Sephora today and I picked up some items. And so I'm excited to get home and use them all. Why am I talking like this? The first thing I'm going to use for the second time, because when I got in the car, I just went on and sprayed my face down with this. I'm late. This was all the rave like in 1999, okay? Do not look at my nails throughout this video, because I did my nails today and I hate them. And so now I have to do them again, but I was like, not before I sit down and film a video, edit it and upload it. I can wait. My nails can wait. You, my friends, cannot. I won't allow it. So there's that. So it's supposed to be very hydrating and give you a re-energized, rebalanced, radiant look. And so we gonna see. We's gonna see. Today's video is going to be one that probably will upset you. Okay, trigger warning. The victims are children, so you know how I feel about children. Now, I try not to cover them. I try not to do too many cases that involve children as the victims, because it's just so, it just makes me so sad, and I just hate doing it, and I feel like my peace is disrupted and disturbed after I do cases where children are the victims. It's very triggering for me. Because of that, I'm not gonna tell the details of each case by case. Actually, I couldn't even do that. He had so many victims, like, we'd be here all night. But anyway, I'm not going to go into detail on every single one, but I'm going to tell it a way that it's going to be interesting. You ain't going to be disappointed. Just don't get worried. Just, you'll see. Y'all already been drinking, because I was eating some chicken earlier. Well, not even earlier. 5 minutes ago, and I didn't have anything to drink with my chicken. So I was drinking this. Needless to say, a lot of it is already in my system. I just trimmed my eyebrows, so if you see some little straggly hairs on my face, that's it. And you probably will, because my camera has just been telling all my business lately, okay? All my business. Today's story is about Pedro Lopez, aka the Monster of Andes. Don't know if you heard about him, but if you haven't, you're gonna hear about him today. Pedro Lopez's father was a member of the Colombian Conservative Party, and so he was pretty much a fancy guy, okay? He had a whole wife at home, and after an argument with his wife on December 28th, 3 days after Christmas. Why y'all fighting after Christmas? Like, it's the holidays. Everybody's supposed to be happy. He probably didn't get her a good gift, because that's the only reason for, folks to be fighting around the holidays. This was in the year 1947. So they get into an argument. He leaves the house because he's all mad. And then he goes and solicits, I know what happened. He solicits sex from a prostitute. They get it on. And that's probably what the fight was about. He probably tried to, press up on his wife. She probably denied his request. And so he was like, you know what you won't do, somebody else will. I mean, I don't know, but that sounds pretty likely. Papa Pedro goes and cheats on his wife with a prostitute named Belinda Castaneda. She becomes pregnant with little murderer-to-be Pedro. When she was just 3 months pregnant with little Pedro, unfortunately, his father is shot and killed in a grocery store. He was trying to defend a store clerk against some rebellious little, I guess, gang members. I don't know. They were like a little bad crew of folk, and they're starting trouble, and he tried to stop it, and then he got shot and he got killed, and it was very unfortunate. So now Benilda does not have a father for her baby. But how it was even his father? How do prostitutes be knowing who their baby's father is? Like, how? Anywho, this ain't Mari, and we're not going to question paternity here. That's not what we're here for. So on October 8th, 1948, she gives birth to little baby Pedro. But apparently, this didn't stop her bag. Like, she was not about to let a baby slow her down, because she was right back on the streets, prostituting, selling About a pound, okay? Even more now than ever because she had a baby to feed, whose father was not in the picture. She was a single mama. When Pedro was just 8 years old, his mother caught him fondling his younger sister. This caused her to evict him from the house. She put him out. She was like, you know what? You gotta go. I'm like, 8 though? Like at 8? I don't think I would put him out. I think I would just try to get my kids some help. Like, you know, we got to work this out at 8. Now, 16, 15, maybe. I might have to go ahead and give you the boot. I don't know. I just feel like they're so young to put a child out into the world. Like, I don't know. My unsolicited opinion. Pedro later blamed his mother being a prostitute for him feeling like fondling his little sister was okay. Now, Pedro said that witnessing prostitution while growing up had disturbing effects on his psyche. Nevertheless, 8-year-old Pedro takes off to Bogota, Colombia, which is the capital city, and decides he's just gonna try to wing this thing called life and figure it out. But unfortunately, he's picked up by an older man who takes him to an abandoned building and repeatedly sodomizes him. From there, he had a hard knock life on the streets until age 12. An American family took him in and put him in school, tried to put him on the right track, you know, tried to give him a good life. And for 2 years, the kid was doing good. He was going to school regularly. He was a part of a family. But that didn't last long because just 2 years after they had taken him in, he ran away, alleging that he had been molested by a male teacher at the school. And there are 2 accounts of this story. There are also accounts that say that he ran away with the teacher, that he was having a sexual relationship with the teacher and they ran away. So I really don't know which one is the actual factual truth. Just know that there are alternative truths at this point in the story. Every time I drink something that's not water, I get the hiccups. Now back on the streets, Pedro needs money again. So he turns to a life of crime. Y'all want to see my baby? Oh, since he's down here on the floor rolling something around under my chair. Look, say hi. You smell so good. Say hi to the people. Say hi. Blue, say hi. Like I was saying, Pedro was on the streets. He begins to steal cars and sell them to a local chop shop to make money. Pedro was arrested for theft and he spent a short amount of time in prison. Now, while in prison, Pedro said that he was gang raped by 4 men. He didn't like that very much. He did get revenge, however, by killing 3 of the 4 men. He didn't get to the 4th one. He tried, but he didn't get to the 4th one. He got to kill 3 of them. And because the authorities kind of saw this as self-defense, they decided not to give him that much time. They only gave him 2 years added onto his sentence for the murder of the 3 of 4 men that had brutally gang raped him. He shouldn't have got no more time. But he turned out to be a horrible person, so fuck him. Never mind. Y'all, the liquor is real, really kicking in. Pedro's released. He's released from prison in 1978. I don't know what his state of mind was when he was released from prison in 1978, but obviously it wasn't a good one because he began kidnapping and killing young Peruvian girls all over the damn place. Oh shit, I didn't set my under eye. See, this is why I should not drink before I do my makeup. Granted, I feel like my makeup looks better when I'm under the influence, or maybe I just be drunk when I finish, and so it just be looking good because I'm looking through beer goggles. I don't know. Now, the increasing disappearance of young Peruvian girls, it was noticed by authorities, but they just figured that the young kids had been kidnapped by child peddlers and sold as sex slaves, and so that's what they assumed was happening. So they weren't necessarily looking for a serial killer. He was getting away with it for a while. Now, during one of his attempts at kidnapping a young girl, victim, he was found out by a local group of Indians, and so they kidnapped his ass, tortured him, and buried him in the sand up to his neck. But they didn't kill him like they should have. They just kept him, and after a while they ended up letting him go. Then after that, he was deported to Ecuador. Now, this whole ordeal with the Indians, that shit did not scare him into changing his ways at all. His near-death experience it didn't faze him, right? He continued to kidnap and murder young girls in Ecuador, doing so for years without being caught. Like, homeboy was just out there. Now, in April 1980, there was this huge flood over in Ecuador that, like, flooded the lands, and it ended up exposing this pit of murdered children. And the Ecuadorian police or authorities realized, yo, we have a serial murderer on the loose. Like, we have a serial killer out here. We have to do something about it. Now, Pedro, who was used to being out here, not being caught, doing his thing, he attempts to abduct a young girl, and fortunately, the mother catches him in the act. She's like, get off my mother baby. And the police, they pick Pedro up because they like, nah fam, we ain't doing that. Pedro is arrested and he is not cooperating with police at all. He ain't talking, he ain't admitting nothing. He's just being very uncooperative. And so the police decide, you know what, we have to go about getting information out of him a different way. So they enlist the help of a local priest. They dress him up like a prisoner, give him a little orange jumpsuit, and they put him in the cell with Pedro, hoping that he will, you know, like brag. Because, you know, sell people. Inmates like to brag to other inmates about the crimes they committed. Like, they're more likely to tell another inmate what they did versus talking to the police. This trick works, and he ends up confessing everything to the cellmate priest that he thinks is just a cellmate. Now, when police question and confront him about the confession that he had given to his new cellmate, he cracks and he confesses to everything. He tells them that he has just been killing up all the kids, okay? And it was very, very disturbing. Pedro goes on to tell police that he killed 110 children in Ecuador, 100 in Colombia, and another 100 in Peru. 310 little babies. He told authorities that he would walk the streets of each place looking for innocent looking young girls who he would lure away with the promise of gifts. He would lure them to graves that he had previously prepared. Now, these graves would either already be prepared and halfway filled with other bodies of other young girls, or like a freshly dug grave that would be large enough for him to fit a large amount of young girls. He said that he would spend the night reassuring and calming the young girls, like earning their trust, telling them everything will be okay. And he would literally do this the entire night, like all night long, until the sun began to rise. At that point, he would begin to strangle them and rape them at sunrise, because he said that that was his sexual fantasy, to watch them die as the sun came up and to look into their eyes as they died. He said that he never killed at night because he would not be able to watch the life leave his victim's eyes, and without that element, it just wouldn't even be worth it. He said the murder was a waste without that element. Like, what the is wrong with you, sir? It gets worse. He also said that after the child was then deceased, he would have tea parties and play games with the deceased children. Like, he would prop them up against their grave. Really, Blue? Cough somewhere else, please. He said that he would prop them up inside the grave that he had dug for them, talk to them, and he convinced himself that his little friends enjoyed the company. And after so much time, and after, of course, they didn't respond, but after so much time of him interacting with them and them not being able to interact back with him, he would get bored, and then he would decide that it's time to go get his next victim. Now, what's really kind of strange is the police did not believe him. They said that this story was just crazy, and he probably was just crazy, making it up. They did not believe him at all. They were just like, you know what? You're just messing with us. Pedro said, you know what? If you don't believe me, I can take you to the grave site and I can show you where a lot of these victims are, because remember, he was digging mass graves for these kids. He agrees to take them to one of the grave sites, and in that one alone, 53 children's bodies were recovered. And at that point, they was like, you know what? We believe you. this story goes public, that's when he's named the Monster of Andes, and his ass is taken off the streets. Throughout his trial and even into his prison sentence, Pedro, he never showed any kind of remorse for his crimes at all. He, in an interview with a reporter, openly admitted, as if nothing was wrong with that if he ever got out of prison, he would happily return to killing young children because the pleasure that he got from it was unmatched. He said that the pleasure that he received from his demented acts overrode and overpowered any sense of right from wrong and any feelings of empathy for another human being. Like, all of that literally went out the window when he was in the act of murdering a child. Murder somebody your own goddamn side. Well, don't do that. That's what everybody else. Just don't murder nobody. Okay, how about that? He told journalist Ron Lagner that he looked forward to the next time he got the opportunity to wrap his hands around the throat of his next child. Now, no one was concerned that he would ever get out and get the opportunity to wrap his hands around his next child, because they were like, you killed all these people. You'll never get out of jail. And even if he got out of the Ecuadorian prison, he would still have to face charges in both Peru and Colombia. So everybody felt confident that he would never see the light of day. He was only sentenced to 16 years in Ecuador because that was the max allowed by law, even for murder. Like, child, how is that your max that you can give somebody? How, Sway? How and why? During the trial, he was declared mentally insane and therefore ordered to spend his 16 years in a hospital versus a prison. And if that wasn't bad enough, and if you're not frustrated enough right now, girl or guy, this mofo only did 14 years. After 14 years, he was released for good behavior. Good behavior. You heard me. Yes, girl, good behavior. Like, wait. Despite all the bad behavior he had before he went in. Like, huh? The conditions of his release was that he paid a $50 fine. Yes, $50. 25 plus 25. Now, you remember how we were like, well, if he was released, he would still have to face justice in Peru and Colombia. So he'll never see the light of day. Unfortunately, at the time of his release, neither Peru nor Colombia had the money to extradite. You know, it would be a great drinking game if we just all took a sip every time I butchered a word. All of us would be drunk. So yeah, they released him over in Ecuador. Neither Peru nor Colombia have the money to extradite him and bring him to justice for the 100+ murders that he committed over in their area. And so he literally walks free and nobody knows what happened to him after that. Now, there were a lot of people who had put out like death threats and all kind of, you know, of course there were a million people who wanted him dead, like who would just have paid to have him murdered, who would have killed him themselves with their bare hands, all of that, okay? All of that. So we don't know if somebody got a hold of him, gave him a little street justice, or what. Hopefully so, because he said that if he ever got the opportunity, he would indeed return to his old ways and just be out there murdering children like it ain't nothing. This was in 1998 that he was released. 2002, just 4 years after his release from the hospital, there was a murder of a child that resembled Pedro's MO. It was like the same way he had killed the other kids. This happened in Colombia. They issued a warrant for his arrest, but they couldn't find him. They literally never found him. Like I said, he was never seen again. And hopefully somebody caught up with him and strung him up by his nuts on a tree. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that color. The lip gloss is supposed to be plumping. It's tangling. It's giving me a little tingle sensation, a little burn, baby, burn. I'm feeling cute right now. I might leave the house tonight. I don't know where I'm going because I ain't got no man or no friends. But I'm gonna go somewhere because I look too cute to be in the house and just be seen by Blue and Poppy. Let me put my little girlfriends back. So that is it for this video and this look. If you liked it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought about the story down below. Let's chat down below. We're friends, right? As always, I appreciate you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.